Tough Fish Show. I am so excited to welcome back Catherine Michaels. Catherine, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's good to be back again, Jen. Good to be back. Thank you.
I am so glad you are. And I would love for you to start with what has happened since we last chatted. And the last time we chatted, really, there was a new book that had come out or shortly thereafter, and it was a co-authored middle grade book. And
Correct?
you had also published, even before that, children's books. So it was really cool to talk about like the business side of things and the co-authoring process and such. But what has happened since then?
I guess the world has gone through a pandemic and we've come out the other side. So that's the good thing. But during that time, during that process, I wanted to find my happily ever after when I was in lockdown and couldn't get out to the world. So I started thinking about where I would like to be and who I would like to go with. And I kind of came up with the idea of a book, a romance that would have me escape to a faraway place with people that I wanted to go with. And I had a kernel of something I had stuffed in my drawer for 20 years. I took it out and I started writing a romance. So I've actually jumped genres from children's books to what I would call light romance, women's fiction. And that's been an exciting journey.
I love that so much. Keep talking about this with me. Share more. Like, how did you take this kernel of an idea, take this something that you were thinking about, and how did you start to work through that idea? Because this is, to your point, it's a genre shift, but it was an interest too that seemed to just pull at you. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I grew up along the North Atlantic off of coastal Connecticut, so I've always had salt water in my veins. And we moved to North Carolina, and I've been here for a while. And during lockdown, we visited some of the wonderful coastal communities along North Carolina, and they were pristine and they were beautiful. And it just was something in it that moved me. I walked through the historic towns and the old-timey houses from the 17 and 1800s, had seafood. I never did get to see a sea turtle nest hatch, but I saw evidence of the nests on the beach, and I thought I need to do something with all this. I sat down and I had this idea that I wanted to write. I was an enthusiastic learner. I had no idea what I didn't know. So I started researching genres. I started researching romance, and there was just like a huge learning curve. The longest book I had written was about 30,000 words, my middle grade book with Rosie Russell. So for an adult romance novel, I had to double that to around 70,000 words. So that was daunting. So I had to learn about structure. I had to learn about genre. My kidlit community is always so supportive, but I needed to find now readers in the romance genre. So I started writing about in the middle of lockdown. So it's been like a 3-year journey to find my people, to find my tribe, to reinvent myself as Catherine Michaels, romance author, rather than Cat Michaels. And there were times, the technical side of that, partitioning my website, getting 2 accounts set up on publishers and on Goodreads. There were times when I was in tears and it was like, I can't do this, it's too hard. But my community supported me, my hub supported me, and there was something in me that even though at times I felt like I wanted to give up, I was determined to finish this book and get it out to the world.
I am so glad that you did because you're right that when you are doing something new, something out of your comfort zone, and then that's really a lot of what we're talking about here. It can feel like, am I facing resistance because it's not what I should be doing and I'm just not taking the hint? Or it's the resistance because it actually is what I'm supposed to be doing. And, I need to keep moving forward and overcoming that because I know it's the right thing. And this resistance is actually what's strengthening me to get to where I want to go. So, how did you discern the difference?
Oh, that's a good question. it felt right. There's just that's the only way I can describe it. There was something in my gut that says it's okay to do this, and I'm not one to give up. I'm not one to give. I can walk away and say when something has been too hard and it's not for me, and to redirection. In fact, I started out thinking this would be a romantic comedy, and as I started writing and developing the characters, I realized it was more of a lighthearted romance. And that was something else, Jen, in addition to just the sheer quantity of words I had to put out and make it an interesting story. With children's books, you can be on the surface with the characters, right? And with their feelings. She felt happy, she skipped and she got an A on her homework, something like that. But I've discovered quickly that in writing adult fiction, especially romance, you have to go really deep, like super deep, and uncover all these feelings and emotions. So there were times when it took me a while to discover that, but the more I went into it, the deeper I got, the better feedback I got from my critique partners and my beta readers. So there were times that when my characters were happy, I was happy, and there was one particularly heavy, a couple of heavy scenes that I just was sad. I was kind of in tears. And I just told my husband, I just need to, give me a cup of coffee and let's just sit and talk for a while.
But
So that was part of it.
yeah, but what that's telling me is that you were allowing yourself to go where you needed to go emotionally, which also is going to show up in the writing. It's going to show up because of the word choices, because of the structure, to your point, because of how that character who's receiving on the receiving end of this is showing up too. And it makes for a better story, in my opinion. If when I'm reading something, if I see that I'm starting to get choked up, or if I'm laughing out loud, or my eyes have welled, I will write in the corners. Okay, I am over here crying right along with this character, bravo, kind of thing, because
Yeah.
that's what that's the kind of reaction you want to have. You want to have that connection, because that means that the reader's going to have that connection. So I love that you allowed that versus stifled it.
Thanks. And I also did something that's a bit interesting. The children's books that I wrote were set on this mythical Gull Island, North Carolina. So I took that setting and I exported it into my novel. So I already felt a little bit of a comfort level because I knew the ground, so to speak. And I did bring back one of the characters, Meg Gray, who's kind of like Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, if you remember that. So I sort of had my setting there, and I drew on my love of the coast and the ocean, and that was my safe place. So the reviews that I have been getting and the feedback from my beta readers is that they feel like it's a very immersive book in terms of the setting of Gull Island and what the sunsets are like and what the food is like. In fact, it was fun to do research going to the beach. I had my first shrimp burger, which I put in the book, which is not at all like a hamburger. Have you had a shrimp burger, Jen?
I have not, so tell
I
me.
can't. Okay, there are little bits of fried shrimp, individually fried shrimp, and they're bundled into a hamburger bun. So you probably get a couple of dozen fried shrimp and a hamburger bun, and there's coleslaw on it, and you smash it in a hamburger bun with a pickle. And it sounds awful, but it's the most delicious thing you would ever want.
Actually
And
sounds
it's
awesome to me.
and it's a specialty along the Crystal Coast and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So doing the research was fun. That grounded me.
Yeah.
That grounded me.
Yeah, Outer Banks is a love language to me all by itself. So it's one of my, it feels like a hidey hole there. So I
Yeah,
love that you said that. And I'm like, I can totally see how that would be created. So I love that so much. But
thanks.
so let's talk about a little bit more where, okay, so you have this idea, you're following it through, and these characters are starting to come to life as you are putting this book together. But how did you did the research to learn the structure, the
Hmm.
beats, if you will, to figure out the
Hmm.
trope, if you wanted, like what that would look like, what that would feel like. But when you realize that this isn't feeling rom-com, this is feeling more, a light, sweet romance, a little bit of women's fiction in there. How did you make that pivot? Did it feel hard or did it feel like, oh, that's taking that's almost taking some breaks off and I can actually move a little bit better?
It surprised me because I love rom-coms. I read rom-coms. I watch rom-coms. I do some light romance. And when I read this and I got feedback from my beta readers or my critique partners that this is more of a romance, it's like, oh, I'm writing a romance. Okay, let's write a romance. And I'll be honest with you, for your listeners, I got so stuck in the murky middle. I wanted to write something that was true to genre, true to trope, but I didn't want to make it. I, I I love Hallmark movies, but I didn't want to write a Hallmark movie. I wanted something with a little more substance and a bit of a different, something different to happen that would surprise the reader, but not say it's out of the romance genre. So this was about the time when AI came on the scene. So I always like challenges. I like learning new things. So I kind of experimented a little bit with AI to see if that could help me. And I found that it was almost like having a research assistant at my side. You know, I would get feedback from my grammar software that I was writing passive voice and it wasn't interesting. So I would take the sentence and I would put it into AI and I would say, write this sentence in active voice. And it spit it out for me. It's like, that's great. That's a time saver. I also asked, when I got stuck in the middle, I used it for brainstorming. I said, here's my character, and this is her situation, and I want her to get from point A to point B. Give me some ideas about what could happen to help her get there. And it spit out some ideas, and I was able to take them and twist them into a plot that made sense for my character. So that really speeded up my process, as strange as it might sound. I also had a really good developmental editor work with me. I had some excellent critique partners work with me. But I think that I can attribute AI to helping me speed up the process because it was like having an assistant in the room with me 24/7 that I could talk to, and it would just give me feedback. And I didn't always accept it, but it gave me ideas.
Well, and that's the beauty of getting feedback from anyone, your critique partners, beta readers, editors, whomever, that it's your book and it is totally cool to say, thank you, but this doesn't align with my vision. I appreciate
Mhm.
the feedback, and that's all that is needed from that standpoint, because yes, they're trying to help, and especially when they're coming from a really good place, but in the same breath, it's still your book. And so I love the fact that you were using different resources to be able to say, okay, how do I do this? And then take all of that information and shape it the way you needed it to be for you to feel really good and connected to your characters and excited about the story that you're putting together.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
so with AI, you treated it like a personal assistant. How
Mhm.
did you go about figuring out when you wanted to include something? Like, for instance, to your point about the passive voice, I
Mhm.
here's my passive sentence. It spits it back to me as active, but it also sounds like what that did was said, okay, now I know what to look for. Now I know how
Yes.
to think about this differently, and I can go back through the manuscript with just this in mind and look at it. Is that kind
Yes.
of how it helped you?
It did. It helped me to learn. The other thing that coming from a children's genre, I did a lot more of telling than showing, you know, that emotional arc. And I would get that from my feedback partners quite a bit. The other thing that I found AI to be extremely helpful with, and I used a combination of Google's Gemini and a software program called Pseudowrite, which is a paid program, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I just thought, well, let me try all this and see how it shakes out. But what helped me a lot is I would take a chapter that I had written and I would pop it into AI and I would say, give me feedback on the strengths and areas of development for this chapter as to how I can make it more emotionally resonant with more showing than telling. So I knew what it wanted me to do, and I assigned it a role. I would say, you are like a developmental editor. Give me feedback on this chapter based on this. So it doesn't take the place of a developmental editor at all, but it's kind of like having somebody on my shoulder saying, okay, you're way too much telling here. You need to develop this character's arc more here. Your pacing is off. It's very emotional. Slow it down. It's like, oh, okay, I'll slow it down. So it gave me tips like that to work on, which which were also echoed by the people who read my early drafts. But it's something about having that immediacy and not bugging your critique partners every minute for feedback.
Well, but what I'm also hearing is that you used resources that were available to help you get stronger pieces, but that you still valued the human element, the person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, because to your point, you still chose to hire a developmental editor. You still chose to work with critique partners and beta readers
Correct.
instead of saying, well, I've just got this and I don't really need other pieces in here. So I think that's really cool that you're showing a balance between leveraging technology and leveraging the you know people to help bring
Absolutely.
together. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like another tool in my arsenal. So I don't think I could have done it without a village. I mean, it takes a village. It took a village for me to write this. It took almost 3 years to get it out in the world, and I still can't believe the reviews that I'm getting. They are stronger than what I had hoped they could ever be, if that makes sense. I mean, I kind of knew in my heart, okay, this is a good book. I think it's good, but boy, am I prejudiced. I'm biased. So you get it out there and people start saying, yes, I love this character. You've got to write a second book. So now I'm getting ideas together for my second book, and it's going to be at least a duology in the series. I'm going to have the same setting on mythical Gull Island because I need more trips to the beach to do quote unquote research. And I'm going to feature probably one of the minor characters and bring her forward. And I I can't wait. I'm actually starting to outline and get into what kind of mischief that she could get into and what challenges that she could bring. And I've got to come up with this amazing romantic partner for her to be involved with. So that's all evolving, and that's exciting.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That is so cool. That is brilliant. Okay, so first off, what is the name of this new book?
Okay, can I be a little,
Yes,
it's
yes.
Sand, Sea, and Second Chances. This is my author copy that my husband has read and marked for me before we went to press because he did find a period that I forgot. So,
I,
but yeah, so it's Sand, Sea, and Second Chances. It's a great cover. My illustrator friend Dina McMurdy did a great job putting it together. And this little pooch here in the corner is my grandnephew, my fur nephew, based on him.
I love that so much. I love the title. I love the cover. It's beautiful. It's light. It conveys so much. I just think that that is so cool. So one of the things you did in this transition between, to get to this new genre, to embrace it and to just step forward to also be connecting with those readers is you created a read magnet and basically an email opt-in to further create that connection with the story, but also bring people into your world with this new space. How did that come about for you?
I I wanted to reach new readers in the romance genre. So I brainstormed what could I do that would be interesting to someone who doesn't know me to take a look at and say, hey, I'd like to read more. So I started almost a year ago to write a side story about one of the minor characters, and it was about 17,000 words. So by Christmas, I sent it out to my beta readers. I was so excited about it. That one is called Wishes on the Waves, and they gave me good feedback about it. But Dina's face was so bland. She said, Catherine, this gives too much away. You can't use it as a reader magnet. I'm like, oh So that could be book 3 down the road. So I had to at Christmas I had to go back and start again on another story. And it was like, what am I going to do this time? I put my heart and soul into Wishes on the Waves. Okay, it gave too much away. So I thought I would do a prequel to talk about the two characters, Kate, in, who starts out in a coastal community in Connecticut, which is an actual town in Black Rock near where I grew up, and Luke, who's down on the mythical Gull Island. And they don't meet, but what happens in their lives that's going to bring them together? And what could possibly be interesting enough to draw readers into the story and want them to make more? So I kind of gave the backstory and filled in some of the missing pieces in Before Sand and Sea, and that came out to be about 10,000 words. And that came out in the spring, and it's been well received, and I've got some good feedback on it.
I love that. I think that that was just such a beautiful way to you said, like you said, bring people in, learn about the characters, be excited to find out what happens next. But
Hmm.
I just think that that's a lovely way to do that. There are so many ways that you can invite people into your world and giving them something, but this is just such a beautiful opportunity. I think that that's just fantastic. I love that
Yeah.
so much. And
And
I
that's
love that you
another,
I was going to say, I
go
just
ahead.
love that you also got feedback that was like, hey, you're giving away too much. Use this in a different
Yes.
way or rework this so it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you got that feedback and that instead of saying, well, I don't want to scale this down, I want to put it aside. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool too.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to resurrect it at some point, but I need to do that second book first, and then this would be the third. So I've actually got 1 and 1/3 books in my series done, but I don't have the chronology right. But it'll get, and again, to your point, I'm so grateful for my critique partners. And it took, some of them, we've been together, my original group here in Raleigh, we've been together about 10 years. Interestingly enough, it's 2 women and 3 men. So I get a male perspective. And then I have another long distance critique partner that we've been together for a little over 2 years. And they've just all been so instrumental in helping me get to this point. And I've also had to give a shout out to the Women in Publishing group for helping me find my footing and answer these pesky little questions that gnaw on me. Because it's really hard being an authorpreneur. You know, as I'm an indie author, so I have to do everything. And again, some of the technical issues of transitioning to MailerLite from MailChimp and getting DMARC set up, I was in tears. It was so hard, I just could not do it. So I reached out and people gave me what I needed in terms of the technical knowledge and the encouragement to keep on going. But I could not do this alone. I needed human people as well as any artificial intelligence. I needed the humans more than the AI.
But what I'm hearing you bring up really is, again, it was another form of resistance. It was another form of, hey, you're pushing into something new. You're pushing into something you've not done before. And
Mm,
sometimes you are doing the pushing, like when you said, hey, I'm going to write this book in a different genre that I've not done before. And I have a lot to learn there. So that's one type of, resistance and learning.
yes,
It's another thing when things happen into your world.
yes,
Like you said, like the DMARC thing, that was not a you saying I'm trying to go do this. It was, hey, data laws are changing and this is what we need to do to honor that to keep our communications up and up on the up.
sure.
And what I think is cool is that you're right that when you are the entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you are dealing with all those different parts and pieces. But when you remember that you are the business owner, it's also one of those things that you're saying, I started this business because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to share something I'm passionate about or share this joy. And yeah, I've run into some more hurdles. But what I
Mm,
also heard you do is that, you asked for help and you took strategic pauses where you needed to. And those are just as important. It's important in the writing journey, but after you get it published, as you're getting visible, as you're constructing your business and moving your business forward, I mean, what I hear you showing is the perseverance throughout the author journey, not just with the craft, but all aspects of it.
Yeah, it's not being a writer these days, even if you're indie or traditionally published, it's not for the people who would give up easily. It's a long game. You
Mhm.
know, I've been at this. I started in 2013. So this is my 11th my 11th year, and I feel like I'm still learning every day,
I'm with you. I started
you
my
know?
business in 2014, and
I
I'm with you. There are some things that naturally felt like an extension of things I already knew or could do. And
mhm.
there are some parts that I'm like, I'm learning so much. I thought that, and then you realize something you might have set up in your business worked at one time, but just like, when you watch a child outgrow, they would have worn, 3-month-old clothing and now, oh wait, no, they're a toddler. They can't wear that. They have outgrown that. And they might outgrow something as quickly and quick after that. We do that in our business too. And when you are willing to look at it that way, when you're or look at your writing that way, it takes the pressure off of saying, well, it's not working. No, maybe you're growing and it's a good thing.
I like that. I like that perspective. The other thing that I have done on this journey is that I have taken time away. I have stepped away from the keyboard. I've had to. It's been so intense, and sometimes I felt like I've hit a brick wall. I've put so much into it. There's things going on in life. I need to keep a balance. So I'm a very high level. Some people call me an A-type personality. I just, you know, dive in and I work, but I need to remember to step back and take a balance. So while I've been doing this, you know, I've been grateful to my husband for his patience and my family for their support. But I've also tried to plug into the to things outside in the community with my friends and my book clubs and my neighbors. So it's really a balancing act. So this whole entrepreneur thing doesn't suck me in, if that makes sense.
I wholeheartedly agree. And yeah, because in order for you to create the next story, to pour into that the same that love and that creation, that creativity, and allow yourself to go deeper with those characters or that changing out different parts, you will have learned a lot from the first book. But on top of it, if you don't take care of you, your writing will suffer. And to me,
Yeah.
and I don't know about you, but I felt this way when I wrote my most recent book. But with other books that I've written, I feel like, but especially this most recent one, that it's almost as though I feel like my higher self is writing that book and I am stepping up into that when I'm writing. So if it feels like it might be a little challenging in that part, I'm recognizing that I'm growing as I'm writing because I'm wanting to serve my reader well and provide, something in that, whether it's a story, whether it's insight, whether it's the development and an immersive experience or what have you. I am stepping up. And in doing that, it's requiring more. So when you do take that space to go do something for you, take your time in the morning, or when you realize I've done all I can do today, I need to decompress and honor that, you're going to create the best things you can because you've done that.
Hmm. For sure. For
I
sure.
I am so glad that you have been on this show. I'm so glad you came back because I am thrilled for you with this new journey. And
Thank you.
where can people connect with you, Catherine? Where can they get your book? Where can they find out? Where can they get the prequel? Where can they find out more about the progress of the subsequent book? We need to know.
Oh, thank you, thank you. My new website under my new author name, Catherine with a C, CatherineMichaelsAuthor.com, all lowercase. That has where my books are available. It also has a sign up if folks would join my Inside the Pages monthly newsletter. And when they sign up, they'll automatically get a free download of the prequel Before Sand and Sea. And I love to connect with readers. It's how I learn. It's kind of the reason why I write too. I like making a difference in somebody's life, and I like hearing about what they're up to. and what joys and struggles they're going through. So thank you so much for having me. This has been such fun. Thanks, Jen.
I am so glad you were here. Thank you so much.